Welcome back, everyone, to another edition. I like to call them special editions of the Broker to Broker podcast. I'm your host, Marc Summers, founding president of AIME. Today, very excited about this guest. He's doing a lot of things for the broker community, not only for his consumers, but he's also doing a lot of things for AIME. Some of you guys know him from the podcast that he has with AIME. Some of you are going to be introduced to him today, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I appreciate what this person has done. And so I just want to welcome Kenneth Travis, President and CEO of Greenlight Mortgage and Lender Partnership Director of AIME. So Kenneth, actually, let's just cut this here. I can call you KT, right?
Absolutely, Marc.
All right, KT, that's how we're going to do this from here on out. So KT, thanks for joining us today.
I appreciate being here, man. Thanks for having me, Marc, and looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said, many of our listeners know, KT, that you have your own podcast. It's called The Broker Experience. A little bit of a different angle than what I do, but at the same time, any voice that we can get out there talking about our industry, talking about what we do is phenomenal. But if you can do me a favor, share a little bit about your journey. First off, thank you for your service, Marine veteran. Thank you so much. I can't say that enough. But talk to us about your experience from being, or just tell us about your journey from being a Marine to doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I got out of the service in 2003, and it's like 23 plus years ago, and decided, originally I wanted to be a real estate agent. I met with one of my really good friends who was a real estate agent. We had lunch. He kind of took me through the process and procedures of becoming a real estate agent. I just knew I wanted to be in real estate. I just didn't know, no one really wants to be in mortgages. And he said to me, KT, man, you'd be substantially better being a originator. I said, what's that? He goes, well, it's a loan officer. I said, well, what's a loan officer? And he said, that's someone who gives money to people who need houses. I was like, well, man, I don't really have a background in that. He goes, oh no, you don't have to. And he had a friend who was, opening up a mortgage shop, and he made the introduction. And then of course, 6 or 7 years later, I found out the reason he didn't want me to be a real estate agent, because he didn't want to be my competition, because he knew me and he knew I was going to put in the work and do what was required. And so he came clean years later that, dude, I knew you were going to be successful and I didn't want to be your competition. So he sent me into the mortgage world.
At least he's honest.
Yeah, at least he was awesome about it. So that's kind of how, so I transitioned. I was a broker for the first 10 years of my career. When I started, I worked for a gentleman, like a lot of brokers, of course, the broker world's substantially different today than what it was back then. Right. And one of the things that, that I learned from that experience is when I first got into it, it was like, fake it till you make it. Right. And I was like, well, man, that don't work for me, man. Like, it just doesn't work for how my brain works. And so I had to really figure it out on my own. I was kind of, you eat what you kill, so I'm out there hunting buffalo, having no idea, no training. And I just kind of figured it out. And that was my start into the broker world. And then of course, like all of us, when you have some success, and I remember I was 6 months, Marc, without a paycheck. 6 months I went without a paycheck. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
For me, I had a little staying power because I was still getting paid by the Marine Corps for some leave I had accumulated, prior to getting out. And so that kind of gave me a little bit of time. But man, when I made that first paycheck, and back then we didn't get paid loan officer comp, right? You got paid. I didn't know that the industry got paid 70% of what they brought in. That was kind of the norm back then, if you remember. But but for me, man, it was like I only got 35%. I didn't know any better. And my first paycheck was $27,000, right? And to put that was my first. That was at 35%.
And wait a minute. So at 35%, your first paycheck was $27,000.
Yes. It means that my branch manager made the same $27,000, it's insane. And they didn't do much for me, just be honest with you, and of course he's a great guy. I still know him to this day. I always tease him like, hey man, you took $27,000 from me you didn't do nothing. I taught myself, and he was only 6 years senior to me in the space, which was just crazy to me. But anyway, I remember thinking, man, it's like, dang, dude, as a sergeant in the Marine Corps, I made $33,000. This shit should be illegal. Right. I felt like, dude, you can make this kind of money doing this. Like, I can do this. So that's when you get real motivated to be like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And you start focusing on activities in your business. It's kind of, I didn't have a plan. I was just doing activities, whether they worked or not. And I figured it out as I went. And I remember that first year I made 44,000, second year 88, third year hit six figures, and then you kind of hit your stride from there. And it's really life-changing, that's why I love this industry so much, is because, it doesn't take rocket science. It's just dedication, someone with the right attitude, willing to learn, do the work, and, plug into people that can help you, right? Not necessarily, go blind like a lot of us have done over the years.
Right. So what led you? So how long did you do that for? Then what led you to Greenlight?
Yeah. So I ended up, so I worked, first 4 years, I worked for this broker. It was real quick that I became a partner in that brokerage. And just to learn, I was too young. I didn't really know what I didn't know. It wasn't a great partnership. And so I ended up going out on my own in 2007. And that was rough, right? That was a little bit different of an experience for me, but it wasn't terrible. It was just, what we go through when we do that. And so I opened up my own brokerage, and I lived in that environment for many years, right? Another, I would say 6 years. And then 2008 happened. And then of course I still stayed on the broker side. I felt like I was the last of the Mohicans in the broker community. And then when, industry regulations changed, all the stuff that we went through, right? All the stories that you guys have heard, if you didn't go through it, about how terrible the industry was in 2008. For me, it really wasn't that bad, because I was still on the trajectory of that liftoff, like I was closing 6 to 8 loans a month very consistently. So I didn't have a lot built up. I didn't have a lot to lose. I wasn't a huge shop at that time, but I was sustaining and I was growing. I never skipped the beat while everyone else was. I never really understood, man, why aren't everyone shutting the doors? Well, if you had any level of success and you had all of this overhead maybe, and then the business goes away, a lot of people got hurt. I just didn't experience that because of the timing and entry into the space. But then when CFPB was launched, and, I always felt like, and listen, I love my retail friends. I mean that, Mark, like I really did. I enjoyed retail. I was there, but retail kind of scared you into retail. And so I got into the retail space, and I lived in that space for 9.5 years before coming back to the broker side. And so that's kind of been my journey. And that's what brought Greenlight to where it is, I tried to jump ship in 2020, March of 2020. I reestablished my LLC and everything that I needed to do to become a broker again. And then what happened? It fell out, the sky fell. I mean, the loans everywhere, man, like raining loans, right?
Yeah. The good old, yep. The good old days.
Yeah. So I was just like, man, it's probably not a good time to move. So let's get through this busy season. Right. And it lasted through 2021, and then 2022, things started slowing down. And that's when I said, okay, it's time. And that's how Greenlight got established. So, and if you're curious about the name, Matthew McConaughey is from Longview, Texas. And that's where my office is. And so I named the mortgage company after his book, Greenlights. So.
Oh, no way. That's cool. Yeah. I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan. So that's great. I love that.
I ran into him on a plane with my family coming back from Argentina about a year before that. So it was pretty cool.
So tell me just real quickly, tell me about Greenlight. Like what's your scope there? Like how many loan officers do you have? Processors, in-house people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So, I've lived in a world where I've had, 27 loan officers and big staff and things like that. And, especially on the retail side. I also did it in the broker space back before, years ago when technology, wasn't what it is today. And what I learned coming back is like, you get real clear on what you want and what you don't want. Right. And I'm just being real transparent here. It's like, I haven't really wanted a big team. I have maybe 4 loan officers now. And I have maybe 5 team members total. And, and I just like it small, right? For now. Now I'm capable of building. I want to build, but you got to do it in the right model, and you have to do it at the right time. And you've got to be, you've got to be strategic about it, right? Based on what you want and what you need. And for me, I just, I've lived in that world where I've closed, 100 loans a month. I didn't like that. I learned that you can close less loans and and make close to the same amount of money, right, with a whole lot less stress. And so I think that's something that I've gotten really good at being able to do. But now I'm comfortable. I'm established. I've got my feet kind of settled back into the broker community, and I think that if you start scaling, you've got to be strategic about it. You've got to go about it the right way. And if you don't, you can, you find yourself in a bind or get put in a bad spot. So for me, my team's small. We're not, substantially large, but but I told someone the other day, Mark, they're like, "Hey man, how many loans a month do you close, KT?" I said, "Man, I'm solid for 12 to 15 a month. Like pretty easily, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's really good." I was like, "Not really." And they're like, "No, dude, that's good in this market." I was like, I didn't think that, but I guess it is, I don't really compare myself to other people. I just do my thing and what works, for me and because we're all at a different place in our careers,
Yeah, absolutely. There's some people out there that close 3 to 4 and they're happy as a clam. You know what I mean? There's other people that need to close 20 to whatever it is, hit their goals, cover their costs. And I mean, it doesn't matter. It's all in the eye of the beholder. But the one thing that we always try to push, as is just, be the better version of you. Like if you can close more, then close more. If you're at your capacity, you're at your capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
So there's one thing that, not one, there's many things, but if there is one thing that I always think about when I think about Marines, people who give service, is their mindset. So how do you use your Marine background for your mindset for your business?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And, the thing about, and I'll just use the Marine Corps because that's what I know. And, I've got a 17-year-old son who's doesn't want to go to college. He wants to come work for dad. And I'm like, man, that dude, you've had an easy life, son. It wasn't like mine. Like, I grew up poor and, it was rough. I had to put myself through schooling and we just didn't have the same resources that I'm able to provide my children, which gives them a different perspective. And it's good, but it's also a double-edged sword. It can also be bad. And so I said, son, let me tell you, you want to come work with me? Yeah, Dad. He's been to events with me and he just thinks it's the coolest thing. And I said, well, man, if you're willing to go to Marine Corps boot camp for 3 months and join the reserves, I'll hire you. He's like, done.
That's a good deal. That's a good deal, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Because now, why would I say that? Why would I do that? Well, this is what I believe. I think that the Marine Corps, they tear you down to feeling like you're, scum of the earth, and they break you down so poorly and they take you to the bottom, right? Which a lot of people don't get. Sometimes the pain's not great enough for people to change, right? The Marine Corps is going to get you to a place to change, right? And then they're going to slowly build you back up dangerously to be better than you think you are, right? To be trained killers and to have a different mindset. And and it's a reset. And so is why I've always said I think everyone should go to the military because it's going to give you a different level of seeing things. It's going to give you a different perspective. And when you apply those things to your business, it's just a different baseline. Like your expectations are greater. I have this thing. A lot of us have read the book Extreme Ownership, right? I think it's Tim Grover? I think it's Tim Grover. I may not.
Is that the one where Tim Grover, he was like the trainer for like Jordan and Kobe?
Yeah,
and all
that was Resistance, maybe. I don't know. My brain is not working today, but
you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I can't remember. But but it's Extreme Ownership, and it really is like looking at failures and saying, what could I have done better to help this person avoid that mistake? Was I clear enough? You know what I'm saying? That's like really where people don't normally think that way. Most of the time people think of things like, I told them what I needed them to do. What else am I going to do? Right. And I don't think that way. It's like, yeah, I told them to do it, but maybe I didn't say it in a way that they understood and could comprehend. And so I'll just take it a couple of layers deeper in everything that I do, everything. And because outcomes matter, I think investing into people is very important. I do. I just think that that's the most important. There's a level of, I don't know, there's just a level of of commitment that people need that they don't always get. And I think that we do that a lot of times is we think that, we've put the right people in the right seats, and we do, but then we don't, we don't train them at a level that they need. Right. And then they drop the ball, and then and then we want to be critical of them. Right.
Right.
And it's just like I'm constantly thinking, well, what could I have done better in that? What could I have done better as a leader in that position to make the outcome to be what I needed it to be? And I think that that helps in a lot of, just a lot of aspects of my business. And a lot of, most of my people have been in the business for 23 years. They stay with me. Like my turn rate's very small. Like I had 2 loan partners that combined 18 years. That's a long time, dude. You have 2 loan partners for that long. That's a long time. And my ops manager, she's been with me for 15 years, 16 years. And
Wow.
that means something to me. I used to think, I remember going to an attorney one time, and he's a good friend of mine. He's my attorney now. And I said, hey, man, I was talking to one of your people that work for you, and she said she'd been with you for 20 years. And the other one said she'd been with you for 23 years. What leadership skill do you have that I need to learn? He started laughing. He goes, it ain't me, man. I just pay them. And I was like, oh, just pay them? He's like, yeah, just pay them. They'll stick around and put up with your bull crap. And I'm like, okay. And so I've always paid my people well, which helps, right? You always pay them what they're worth. And I think that's a good level of respect. It's a good starting point, And I think when you pay your people well, and you combine that with like just good leadership and training, and just going in and, sometimes, having a slower approach to things is sometimes better, right? In some cases, right? I'd rather, like, I love running fast, but man, if I'm running fast in the wrong direction, that's not good.
Right.
So sometimes it's okay to slow down and to invest your time. If you're going to invest your time and your effort, let's do it once. Let's do it right the first time, even if it's a little slower, which kind of goes back to, getting back into the broker side in 2022. I've been taking my time, and I have people that have known me. They're like, dude, I know you, KT. I've known you for a long time. You're up to something. I'm like, I am. I have a plan, but it's slow moving because I want to make sure that when these things come to, come time to pull the trigger, I'm ready. Right. So,
Yeah.
and I'm excited about it. So
That's awesome, dude. I love your mindset. It's so confident. You know what I mean? I like the words. I like how you said I go slow, but it's so confident, and you're not running in the wrong direction. I absolutely love that. With that being said, one thing that you've done, and, for people that don't know, KT is our lender partnership director over here at AIME, doing phenomenal things. Can you do me a favor on this? Because a lot of people have commented before, well, why isn't every lender part of AIME? Why is this not happening? Why do we even need these lending partners? Run everyone who's listening, run us through kind of what your thought process is on this, what you kind of do with it and why it's so important.
Yeah, I think that there's a stigma out there to some regard regarding AIME, and maybe some past leadership challenges that have been there, or just things that, the leadership has done. I think that, I don't get into that stuff because none of us are perfect, and none of us, make the right decision every time. I'm always looking at things from an organizational perspective. It's just, I don't care about the past. I don't. I think it holds some water to some regard. What I'm more focused on is, well, what problems do we have, and how do we move forward? Or what challenges do we have, or where are the areas that we need to get better? And so when John first asked me to come in on this, a lot of people know me, Marc, from Next Level Loan Officers. I started that coaching platform in 2017. Man, it was excellent. It was amazing time. We had a podcast for 8 years, and we had 300,000 plus downloads, and it was just a very successful community that we had built. And when I had sold that and started my brokerage and kind of wanted my time back to some degree, I met John, right? And John was just coming into the AIME community. And prior to that, I thought the AIME community had grown really well. I thought that it was going in the right direction. I personally had no issues with the leadership at the time, and thought it was great. I love what, the growth that it had, right? And it had gotten better. And I think it's continuing to get better. And so my hopes and goals coming in is to really change the trajectory of how people think about AIME, especially from a lender partnership. But why is that important for the brokers? Well, I'll give you an example. It's so important for us as we bring on lender partners that we're bringing ones on that are going to protect the business that we bring to them. Okay. That's so important. And you might not think it's important. And you should really try your best to understand what that means, because if you're closing loans with someone who's going to then take that client and refinance them under their umbrella, that's a problem. Right.
Big
And
problem.
now and it's not a perfect system for every lender that's out there. But if that's the focus and that's what we want, we have to make, some really tough, negotiations to ensure that the broker's being protected. I love New Res, for example, and we were able to bring them on, and it was probably one of the most exciting, lender partner that we had bringing on this year, in my opinion. Right now, don't get me wrong, I love them all, but I'll love them all differently. Right? I don't love them all the same. I love them all for different reasons, and I think that, in what I always like to say, there's always room, like these lender partners, there's enough business for all of us. We say that on the loan officer side where, hey man, there's enough business for all of us in our communities. Yeah, there is. There's plenty of business out there. Right? We've got more business that we could manage if we just go out there and get it. Right? That's true. It's the same for lenders, man. It's like, use all of them, right? For your needs. But this is the thing. And they get that. If you don't think that those guys are talking in their ivory towers, they are. A lot of them are friends, and a lot of them get along really well. But they all have something that makes them unique and different. But this is what I want to say. When we were able to bring New Res on, we were so excited about it because it was so hard to do. It was so hard to do because of the way the contractor's written and the way that their business is set up, right? And we were able to eventually get it there. It took a while, but we got them there, Mark. It was so important. And what took so long? What was it? We wanted to make sure that if a loan officer or broker was submitting a loan to New Res, that customer was protected and that it would come back to that loan officer. And so they tapped the brakes on it. I might have got blamed for that, right? A little bit. Like KT is like, is negotiating too hard for them. And then they got these high level attorneys who thought I was an attorney. I was like, no, I'm not an attorney at all. And they're like, well, what the heck, And so we ended up getting the deal worked out, but it was 6 months down the road, maybe a little longer. But it's so important because we want to protect where our customers are going. Okay. If I close, and I've closed a ton of business with New Res. I love those guys. They are great. I've closed a lot of business with UWM, Windsor, EPM, all these guys. I love them all, but I love them all for different reasons. I think that y'all all need to have that mindset. I think everyone should, right? I don't have just one lender, right? I just don't. This would be like asking a realtor to only have, or asking a loan officer to only have one realtor that they work with, right?
Right.
We have multiple realtors that we work with. I tell my realtors, hey, I want to be your number one, but like, I understand if you need to go to a credit union or a bank or, have a backup for things I might not be able to do. I get that. You should, right? I teach them that. I think it's the same for us in our space, but I don't know, man. I just think that the lender partnerships that we're going to be adding in the near future, because we've come in and we've revamped, all of the value adds that we're giving those guys. And this is something that I think is a true reality. AIME isn't owned by any one person, right? It's just not. Not in my brain, it's not. I like to think of it from a perspective of, as we grow the broker community, we're going to be substantially better doing it together than separate, right? We just are. So it's like, even if, if I have my top 3 lender partners donating a majority of the money, where they're going to get a lot of a lot of things for that because they're paying for it, right? But when you're able to create other opportunities for lenders and bring more people to the table equally and fairly, right? And what I mean by that is, like, I had a lender partner that was like wanting to do something with us and they wanted a special deal. I said, I can't do it. I got to protect the integrity of the lender partners that we do have. The offerings we have are the same across the board. Here's the menu. Pick what you want. You know what I'm saying? And now that we've really established that, Mark, I think that we've built so much trust with so many lender partners that we've got even more coming on, right? And we're going to have, which what how that translates to the brokers is like they're able to have more opportunities. They have more products. They have more things at their fingertips to make their journey of being an originator easier. We're going to have more non-QM lenders. We're going to have more niche lenders. We're going to have more lenders that don't have the big budgets, right? But to still be able to plug into our ecosystem, right? Which is in turn going to put them on the radar so that, some of our members can be like, oh, we got that. I didn't know. Oh, great. I just made $10,000 on a loan, And I think all of that matters, right? But we have to change our mindset and quit being, against each other in the broker community as a whole. We've got to, if we're going to grow this thing as a community and the broker industry, we got to do it together, man. We got to start moving in the right direction and just looking at things through a different lens. That's why I'm here. That's the only reason John brought me on, is to really help change the trajectory of how people think about, especially lender partners, how they think about our organization. And I think that we've had more success that's been maybe discussed, in my opinion, but.
No, I'll say it. You guys have. I mean, it's been phenomenal. Let's just say that, from someone who obviously helped create this and seen all the leadership changes, everything that has happened, what you guys have done in the last year and a half, mind blowing.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. And people say, like, they're like, dude, are you running? Yeah, well, yeah, dude, I run my mortgage. I've got a great team. I have I do it because I love helping the community. I remember that, I remember the time when, back in 2003, 4, and 5, where I didn't have a community to plug into. And I just think that having a community to plug into is so important, because when you have people that it's like a cheat code. It's like, hey, I can be in this community, I can get information fast, and I can apply it to my business. I didn't have that. I was literally getting the real estate book and just calling agents in there. And if they were nice to me, I would circle their head. If they were mean, they'd get horns and or a beard. Right. And
right.
So now it's like, man, you can come to this community and you can really drink from the cup. You can get information. You have access to things. It helps you produce, right? It's like I'll give you a better analogy. I have a CrossFit gym at home. Man, I got a whiteboard, I got a clock, I got every piece of equipment that you would need. And when I walk in there and I'm by myself, I'm like, what am I going to do today? I look at my whiteboard and I'm like, okay, I start writing things down. This is what I'm going to do for my workout. And I'm always doing things that are easy, things I'm good at. And, and I start the clock and I get going, right? However, when I'm at the CrossFit gym and I look to my left and I look to my right and I see my brothers and sisters in the gym and I look at the whiteboard, I'm like, damn, that's going to suck, right? It's stuff I'm not good at, stuff that's going to be hard, but I'm competitive. I'm looking to the person to my left and right. And I say, we're about to go to war in the next 25 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever, if it's an AMRAP or an EMOM, whatever it is. And I'm competitive. I want to win, right? And there's 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds in the gym. I'm like about to show them up, right? Even if I don't, right? But at least I try. But you show up different when you have people with you. You do things that are harder. You do things that are going to push you, and you have a better result. That's what community is about. And whether it's AIME or other communities, you got to get plugged into one. I just, happen to think that, AIME's, definitely building out things to become that, and to have that connection, and to have not just be a trade organization, but be a place you can go and really, genuinely grow your business and get the information you need to be successful and have everything at your fingertips. I think that's important for us because, sometimes we forget what we know. It's like, yeah, I've been in business for such a long time. It's like, but I can't there's so many people that are still new. They don't know. Right.
Right.
It's our responsibility, Mark, both of ours, people that have been there to pour into those people as well, help them be better and help them grow and give them the knowledge that they don't have, I just think it's important. I don't know why I think that. It's just, I just know that it's been a very lucrative, and, it's helped me have a life that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have had, possibly. So,
Dude, I absolutely love that analogy right there that you said just a moment ago, which is you work out by yourself. Yeah, you do it. Good for you. But when you got other people around you, it's completely different. You push yourself, everyone becomes better. We got to figure out how to make that a tagline or something. I'm going to tell you that much right now, because that really hit home for me right there. You know what I mean? And I hope it hit home for people that are listening. So KT, I got a couple minutes left with you. Once again, I appreciate your time. I know we're busy. As we're recording this, we are 2 days away from Fuse. And, this is being released tonight. What, if you can take a minute or two, what is the one thing you're looking forward to about going to Fuse?
Well, I'm very excited to be a part of what I think and what you say, apparently, because we had a meeting this morning and they're like, Marc says it's the best Fuse ever every year. And we were all laughing about it. And we all kind of stopped and we're like, but it is. And it's going to be the best Fuse that we probably have ever seen, because of the leadership that we have in place, the people that John's brought in to help, lift up and communicate and create this buzz, but with real value, the things that we're going to be rolling out, that are, involve AI, the speakers that we're going to have are going to be amazing. The messaging that we're going to get, the energy that you're going to see at this place is insane. We're going to have, we've got the exhibit hall is packed, which is information, which is relationships, which are all the things that we need to take back to our communities to serve our people. Right. I think that the opportunities that are going to be presented, things that I can't disclose yet. Right.
Don't do it.
They're going to be announced. Yeah. Things are going to be announced, is going to change the trajectory of a lot of people's business. I think that's important. If you really plug in and you really see the things that are happening, I think I'm excited most about just what's being announced for moving forward. That's one thing. The speakers that we're going to have are going to be amazing. The culture, I think you're going to see a lot of connections. And if you're coming, you've never been, maybe you have come, and you just haven't really connected. The vibe's going to be different. And I hope that everyone can have some takeaways, whether it's meeting someone, plugging into a lender, learning about, the things that they offer, the vendors that we have, maybe a tool that's going to solve a problem for you, asking questions. It's just going to be, you know what, it's not, and I love where it's at. I will tell you that too. I love where it's at because we're all going to be stuck together. Right. And it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? Like something like, I always dislike going to Vegas because there's so many distractions and it's just, I don't like it. I like to be with community of the people because that's where we grow. It's those fire chat conversations that you're going to have. Right. It's going to be like, oh my God. And those are the moments you're like, I didn't know that. And you're going to write that down, or you're going to remember it, or you're going to get someone's phone number. And that one little thing happens to me every time, Marc, I do these things. I'm either reminded of something I'm not doing well and that I need to be better at, or that thing that I was going to do last year and I didn't do it because I was doing other things that were more important, but now that's important to me. We just need to be reminded of the basics sometimes, and I think that we're going to be able to provide that. So,
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to seeing the community. It's going to be the best Fuse. I'm telling you right now, it is. And for people that don't know what KT was talking about, I always say that was the best Fuse. And then the next thing I say after Fuse is done is how are we going to beat that Fuse? And I'm telling you, we continue to do it. Just looking at everything we have going on this week, we're going to do it. I mean, hands down. It's like almost like we're setting ourselves up for failure, but it's for the following year. But all we're doing is just becoming better.
Better. Yeah, absolutely. Without question. I'm excited, man. And it's going to be fun. We're going to have a grand time for sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right, KT. Hey, my man. Thank you so much for all that you do. I mean, you're a rock star. Keep doing your planks. You know, for people that don't know, KT, he does planks every day. You know what I mean? But no,
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time. Appreciate everything you do for the community. Appreciate, you know, your broker shop. I mean, just all of your knowledge, your mindset, your confidence. I really appreciate your time today, man. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you.
All right, brokers, if you want to catch up on all of our past podcast episodes, please head over to aimgroup.com/broker to broker. You can also listen and watch all of our AIME network podcasts on YouTube. That handle is at AIME National. You know, check out KT's podcast. It's phenomenal. You know, the broker experience is doing great things. How many episodes have you done now? About 8, 7?
We're probably more than that. We're probably done 10 to 12 by now.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect. And that's just going to continue to grow. And the whole point of all of this is, you know, just to get voices out there. Everyone has a different voice that they like, or maybe a different angle. His podcast is amazing. All of our podcasts are amazing. So like I said, it's at AIME National, and you can also download these on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you can get your podcast. Do me a favor, download it, leave a review. It helps to spread the word that brokers are best. And KT, you're one of them, my man. So thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you in a couple days.